As we got to the end and rounded that curve, the orb was still behind us. We got to the top of the hill. I'm going as hard as that old truck. It was a four-door F-150. I floored it, went over the hill, and it was almost like you see in the streets of San Francisco or something. Like they jump those hills. That's the way we come over that hill. And when we landed on the ground, I had to jam on the brakes because now the same balls of fire that was up there, these two big orange balls, the first two that were sitting over the trees, were still in the same exact place. They were blood red now. Before they were tangerine orange and looked like fire swirling. Now it's blood red and they're just sitting there. And the third one that was blood red or orange is now sitting on the ground or hovering over the ground about 5 foot and about 150 yards in front of my truck. So we couldn't go any further. The path was blocked. This thing is 45 or 50 feet long, looks like an egg or a football laying on its side. More like an egg than a football, I'd say. And it's got this light going around it like this, and it looked like blades or spikes or fingers of light just going around it and around it and around it, all over it. And we're all freaked out. I'm not freaked out like they were. I'm freaked out because they're freaked out, and they were, and they're dying to get home, and they were saying, this is the end of the world. I want to see my wife before the night's over. I don't think I'll ever see my children again. We were hearing all this. Everybody was in pure terror, and Junior's not helping by adding to what he saw, right? I don't know what happened to me. I've been gone 4 hours. I saw these balls of light, and now I'm seeing them on the road. All that other time, it was wiped from my mind. And even the fear to be afraid of it, I wasn't afraid anymore. So there's this trailer house, a mobile home, sitting about 75 or 100 yards to our right in another property field. And one of the guys said, I know who lives there. He's on our softball team. Drive up there and I'll knock on his door. I didn't have a cell phone. We wanted to make sure they're seeing what we're seeing, and we're facing it. We can't go any further forward. So I crossed over the ditch, the road, drove up into his yard, pulled right up to his front door. His screen door was closed, glass door, but the main door was open. You could see the TV. You could watch TV through the front door. The cars were home. And my headlights are 6 foot from his deck. And one of the guys, Donnie, he gets out, knocks on the door. Nobody comes to the door. And the funny thing is, they went back the next day to get our fishing poles and stuff and saw the guy and said, we were home all night. We never heard a thing. I blew the horn and they knocked on the door. So once we got nobody to the door, we got back in the truck. I backed back out, and now I'm facing this thing again. Still can't go to the road. It's got us blocked. And you can imagine the tension rising in the truck. It's the end of the world. Where's the Air Force? We live near Fort Bragg. Why aren't they here? We're waiting on jets or something to come, And about that time, we hear a gunshot. Some of this crazy country boy, somebody had to have shot at it, or I don't know what caused it. There were 3 shots. Boom, boom, boom. We all heard it. And as soon as the third shot happened, it's sitting crossways of the road. It pivots. And now here it comes straight at us from 150 yards. There's one tree between us and it, and it's about 40 feet tall. And this thing, as it gets closer to the tree, it starts up and it clears the tree. And when it went over my truck, I had a full view of it through the sunroof. I mean, it was all there. I could have shot it with a slingshot. And it looks like I've got many videos of this stuff. And you can see one that I say it's like a solid object, but you can see this plasma just doing this, and its holes open up. Some friends in the science world think that's the way they view from there. I don't know. Just speculation, all of it, but it went over just past the back of our truck. We're all looking up at it now, and it kind of pivots and shoots off in a hurry to the north. So I floor it, start home. I got to drop them off. They're fighting who goes home first, and the biggest guy won, and I had to go 4 miles out of the way to take him home to come back. They didn't want to challenge him, and he's always the toughest of the bunch. So they, okay. So, and the other two live next door. So I dropped him off, and on our way, once we pass these two guys' house and we make it, well, actually, it was before Gene's house. So there's a power line, a high tension power line. We only got to drive from where we're sitting at the river, 2 miles to one stop, 2 miles past them. So we went past and came back, dropped them off. In the first 2 miles of that trip, about halfway, there's a high tension power line. And it's crazy because I experienced, I lost the first wife in that curve there. She died right in that curve in a car wreck. And when we pulled along that curve there, I stopped the truck. I tried to stop and get out, and they were beating my seat. Don't stop. I mean, they were freaked out. I wasn't afraid, but this thing was hovering right over the top of this high tension power line, right where all that happened. It was just amazing, this whole experience. So I'm reluctantly driving off, and there's this gigantic black, I don't know how big it was, but it was huge, and it's sitting right over the power line, and we're driving right up under the end of it. I go on by, I drop them off. Junior does not want to go back that way home, which was a shortcut. So we went 4 miles down, dropped David off, came back 2 miles, dropped Gene off, went back past David's around to go home. This is where it starts again. We get home, it's about 11:30, I guess. I run to my study in the back of the house. I turn all the TV on and radio. I'm listening for emergency broadcast. I'm trying to find it on any news channel. And I'm like, just cannot imagine why I'm not seeing it on TV. And this is what I'm thinking. Chris Jr., he's not doing well. He's just really in shock. He runs from room to room. He would lock the doors, turn the lights on, even in the hall bathroom with no window. He'd turn the light on, lock the door, all the floodlights on. And so he comes running. Once he finishes battening down the house, he comes to my room, and he wasn't in there 2 minutes when the dogs start going crazy. My dad has a kennel. We live right beside one another, straight behind Dad's house. He has a kennel. At one time, he had 104 dogs. That was the most he had. He traded them. But at that time, there were about 15 hound dogs, hunting dogs. And it's really indoor kennels, lights, roof over. It's a really nice place. So I hear all these dogs. I hear this noise come over. And what it sounded like was sort of like the Schumann resonance. It was just a boom, 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 boom. It was just a strange noise. I hear it, and I thought Fort Bragg helicopter. It's going straight toward the river, and the way it came from was the way Fort Bragg was. So I just knew that. But all of a sudden, every dog in that pen started going nuts, and it was making this noise, this bark. They were barking in a way that they were afraid, and I knew they were afraid. And to hear them sounding like that, it make you afraid. Chris Jr. is now, he's freaked out, and I'm like, son, somebody's got to be breaking in Dad's shop. He got a 40-foot garage next to this kennel, and all my stuff's over there. We have fun hunting, fishing, and boats, and all kind of stuff. And so I'm thinking somebody's trying to break in the shop, and the dogs are seeing. And I'm like, gotta go check this out. And he's, please, Daddy, don't go outside. Please don't. I said, son, I've got to see who's doing. I'll use the darkness. Won't use a flashlight. When we're looking out the back door, and I've got a 110-pound Chesapeake Bay Retriever that would bite you if I told her to. And so I said, we'll use Rosie, keep us safe. So he was in full protest when I opened the door, and I went out that door. He had me by the back of the shirt. When I opened that door, Rosie takes off toward the kennel. Now, our houses are side by side, so I go out about 75 yards and make a left through the woods to the kennel, sit back in the woods. So I go back, we make this little path, and we're easing down this path, and the dogs are getting louder and louder, and we get up within 10 feet of the pens, and I'm in shock because they're all facing behind the pen, not toward the garage. And I'm thinking nobody would be breaking in the garage and had walked that way. They would have walked away from the pen. So I started thinking maybe it's a bear, because a lot of times dogs are afraid of a bear. They smell him, they'll make this bark, sort of like a boo, you know what I'm saying, you've heard dogs. But they're doing this, and I can see the first part of them was the kennel's long and L-shaped. And Chris Jr. is right beside me, and Rosie's sitting right here pointing into the forest with all her hair standing up on her back. And there's an awful racket going on. And so I whispered, Junior, I said, Junior, I said, somebody's in there. We're going to go right back down the path to our property, and we'll walk back to the run back to the back of our property. It's about 600 feet and deep, and we'll let Rosie push them out. Whoever's in there will get to see it. He just kind of nodded his head, and I took off down the trail in a good trot. And before I did, I bumped Rosie with my foot on the rail. I said, get him, Rosie. She takes off in full bore into the bush. And it's thick. She says, she's getting in there. And we run down the path. He's got me by the shirt still. And when I get to the end, it already started frosting. And when I went to turn left, my feet started slipping out from under me. And so I thought I had pulled away from Christopher. But what happened was he made a right and he went back towards the house. He didn't want any more of what was going on. And so I didn't realize he had pulled away. I thought he was trying to catch up. So I ran hard as I could run to the back of the property, and I ran right up this big old oak tree. And I just, in a full run, I run to it and grab myself and stop, trying to be quiet. I'm going to see, because I'm hearing the dog coming. And man, it's exciting. All this is happening. And that's all I can tell you. The biggest bear bear hunting, the 660-pound bear, was hunting with dogs. And if Ray's hunting with dogs, you know how even wild boar hunting, all that can get pretty exciting. So I'm thinking this, right? So I run up to this tree and I stop myself in a full run. Rosie's in the woods coming, and I'm trying to pant as quietly as I can. And I look back to see if Christopher's run up to me. I just knew he was going to run up to me and stop and hit me. But the minute I look back, there stands behind me about 4 foot away. If I'd have leaned far enough forward, I could have touched it. It was translucent, glowing, soft white, like the photo I sent you. It had these red glowing eyes, just 2 round sockets that were glowing red. And I knew I was dead. I just went limp, and I turned myself to face it with my back against the tree, trying not to get any closer. And I just said, I surrender. I mean you no harm. And it said, you don't understand. We're here to help you, not to harm you. And about that time, Rosie comes through out of the thicket, and instantly it just disappears right in front of me. Well, she runs on another 1/4 mile, and I didn't catch her back to the next day. She ran out of hearing. And but that was the first night in 2008. January 8, 2007. I've been knowing about this for a long time. probably more than anybody in the whole field, because I've been involved in it, knowing that they were going to turn loose some information. And now it's about funding. So money's being spent, and some of these guys are so far up the ladder, they grab me and get grants to study this kind of stuff. I've seen them on the ground probably 7, 8 times. I mean, they come out of the sky and come right up to me. They'll come and appear as orbs, sometimes very bright, just a flash of light. Sometimes it'll be red. Sometimes it'll look like a flame, like a candle. But anyhow, one across the pond, a red one appeared, come all the way about that half the water, across the pond to us, and then went out about 20 feet away. And they're like, oh my God. Then it started. They came from the woods. They got within, at one point, one was 2 feet over Foxy's head, and it was this big around. So a flash of yellow fire, it looked like. About 7:30, 8 o'clock in the evening, I walk outside on Monday afternoon, and it was not quite dark, just about to get dark. And the minute my back door is 6, 7 feet from the water, I can stand at the back door and fish. And so the minute I walked out the back door, when I opened it straight up on the other side of the pond, it's about, I don't know, 70 yards wide at that point. The trees are 80-foot pine trees, some maybe 100. Above the pine trees on the far side, an orb appears the size of a beach ball. And I knew it was waiting. The way it reacted, it was reacting straight towards me. It starts flashing, 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 and it starts spinning. They're always spinning. And it spirals down to the tops of the pines on the far side of the lake. It goes through the trees. When it gets to the ground on the other side, it stops. My heart's going thump, thump, thump. And I'm standing there, and I got 2 dogs beside me. And I'm not going to be afraid. I'm not going to be afraid.
I started going down this rabbit hole. I knew your story back when I saw it like 14 years ago.
Right.
And I've always been into this, right? Always. And so I get with these group of guys and we start doing what we're doing. And the thought occurs to me, more than a thought, Chris BLEDSOE, we just need to reach out to him. And we did. And we spoke and we traded communications. And then was talking with other people that are also, some of the same folks I know. And as I'm talking to them, everyone's saying the same thing. Everyone's saying something's coming, intuition strong. And it wouldn't leave me alone. All I can say is I knew. I reached out to you, said something's coming. And you told me light's coming. And I said Easter. And you said it's already in motion. And I wake up Easter morning and you send me a video clear as day of an orb.
I have to tell myself I get to shaking. Thank you. These are angels, celestial beings, watching, listen. Y'all see it still, right?
I was making a deal with whoever's up there to help me, and whatever it takes, just help me. And it came. And here's the whole thing that drives me, that will never make me look back. The reason, I guess they knew I'm the kind of person that no matter how hard you try to make me, I can never go back. Because after that day, that first day, when Junior and I, after the first night at the river, the next day, I never took medication again for Crohn's. And I had been on it for 17 and a half years and had a near death because of all the medication. My blood became toxic and I had toxic poisoning and it nearly killed me. But I came from that to no problem with Crohn's, and probably my children have been blessed greater than anything I could ask for. All of them, my wife, both of us. it's turned into a major blessing. And that old person that said after 12 years, it was 2019, Chris Jr. could never have children according to Chapel Hill because he has endocarditis and he had an infection in the heart, and they treated it and said you could probably never have children. Well, right after that Easter Monday, Christopher was living at the beach, right? He comes home and he meets this girl. Now we got a new grandchild that said we could never have one. He gets this craziest deal comes on a house. This person didn't have a for sale sign in the yard. He's bought another house. He's wanting to fix it up and sell it. And my wife just stops by there and asks him one day. She don't even know why. He ended up with a house at a $40,000 deal. I mean, $40,000 equity and a new baby and a new company. And Emily ends up with a call from New York. We'll give you $100 an hour to teach for us at NYU. And my son Jeremy, he's a data scientist. He gets offered a $70,000 or $80,000 a year job at East Carolina University. And then my other son's in Wilmington, and it's just been blessing after blessing after blessing. And so I can never not see that. I can never not know that however hard it is, I have to remember where it all came from and how it was given. And I accept it, and I will do what I have to do to stand by what it is I know.